Senate Republicans recently announced a series of measures geared towards making homes more affordable and accessible.
One of the misconceptions that builders get is that we only want to build these bigger homes for people. That's where we make our money, and that's all builders want. They want to build these bigger homes, and that's not the case. I think we'd all be surprised at just how willing buyers would be to purchase a simple, well-built home. But today our requirements, our zoning rules, our land costs, lot sizes, park fees, engineering requirements, they just don't allow for the simplicity we used to take for granted.
I can see across the board the regulations have increased the cost of remodeling for permitting, electrical, plumbing, heating, all the way across the board for everything that we're putting in.
As we visit with our builders, we understand the high percentage of total costs that rules and regulations has become. We all understand we can't get rid of every rule and regulation. There is a need for that out there to ensure the safety of the consumer. But at the end of the day, we also need to make sure that we, our consumers, are not paying additional money just in order to help local budgets out and have them pick up an unfair share of that particular burden.
In practicality, it is illegal to build a starter home anymore. And what we're trying to say is we need pockets of the city that have places where we can build affordable homes. We're not saying throughout the whole city, but there has to be a portion of the city that can have a higher density and a lower price point home.
Senator Rich Draheim, chair of the Select Committee on Home Ownership Affordability, now joins me in the studio. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
In a recent Minneapolis St. Paul Magazine article on affordable housing, an executive with Housing First Minnesota likened the housing market to automobiles, saying that we have way too many BMWs and not enough Toyota Corollas. Is this a good analogy?
I think it's an excellent analogy, and you know, a lot of things that we're doing as a state and local communities push the BMW more so than the lower end vehicle or house.
So the way that the state is currently set up right now is encouraging more high-end development and not enough affordable development. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I would agree with that. I think we've changed how we kind of do zoning in a lot of communities and what the requirements are. And I think we've kind of pushed out what we would refer to a high-density housing in most communities.
You and members of your caucus rolled out a package of bills last week to try to increase the number of affordable homes. And in affordable homes, we're talking, I believe, about houses between $200,000 and $250,000 roughly. Let's start with code changes. How much savings can be found here, and what kinds of changes can be made? You know,
part of the whole discussion is for every $1,000 we add to the cost of a home, we eliminate between 3,000 and 4,000 people being able to afford that home. And that might not sound like much, but you start talking about code changes, inspection fees, permitting fees, it adds up. The new proposal for building code this year would add about $2,000 to just the electrical code. So
anything new being built would have an additional $2,000 in meeting electrical code.
Correct. And then one of the proposals we have is to eliminate window clips on windows for single-family homes. You can still put them on if you decide in your house if that's the right thing for you and your family. But we've toured a whole bunch of different building sites throughout the whole state, both profit and nonprofit, and that's something we can talk about too. But we were in a new home and they had window clips, and window clips are when you open a window, they only open so far, so kids can't fall out of the window. And you had to push in on either side of the window to get the window clip to go beyond that, I think it's 8-inch gap. Well, the adult couldn't open it. So 2 adults tried and they could not open it. That's how difficult it was to open. So we believe that we could eliminate this and it would save $800 to $1,000 on the cost of a new home. Now, if someone wants it, they can sure add it to their home. And you know, it's a different issue for apartment buildings or tall structures. But for single family homes, we don't think it's needed. I think it's an added expense, and we could save that.
And so this is just one example of some of the things that have become required that maybe should be optional.
Correct. Yep.
It was pointed out in your committee and also in the press conference that building permit fees are significantly lower in our neighboring states than here in Minnesota. How are the fees set, and what can be done here in the state to make sure that the permit fees are not higher than they need to be?
Well, we already have a state law that says that you can only charge as much as it costs. So the local community, whatever, City X, if you live in City X, you know, they're supposed to charge what it costs them for the permits and for inspections and permitting and stuff. But the dollar amount that we're hearing, and I got letters from all over the state from people talking about how expensive their building permit was. I had one that was $25,000 for building permits, and we're saying we understand the city needs to charge something, but we think we've gotten too expensive for the building permits. One community real close to my district charges about $17,700 for their average home, and we think that's too much. We don't think it's necessary to charge that much. And then
so will these cities then have to justify why they're charging what they're doing, or what's going to be the remedy for that?
It's a discussion, you know, and we're meeting with the cities here in a little bit, actually within the hour, and trying to work out a compromise on what we can do. We're trying to bring light to the issue, because if the goal is home ownership, the American dream, you know, what can we do to get people into that American dream? You know, we have about 30% of the families that don't live in a home, don't own a home. And we look at all the differences between people that rent versus people that own. And there's a whole bunch of benefits that go along with home ownership. And from living longer to, you know, what equity they have. And if you look at, I think the latest study showed the average renter had about $5,600 in assets, where a homeowner average was $230,000, and that was a national number. But huge disparity.
It builds wealth.
Yeah, it builds wealth.
You mentioned in the press conference how zoning has changed over the years. Now there tend to be developments as opposed to, you know, individual homes. And criteria in those developments that can drive up costs, like lot size or number of garage stalls or stone facades. How does this get changed?
Well, when we were growing up, most of the cities had a zoning map, and it had R1, R2, R3, commercial, mixed use, industrial, et cetera. And they're still on the maps, but they're normally over the existing structures. And kind of what the cities have done is really push everything into a PUD, or plan unit development. And the plan unit development has a lot of positives to it. It gives the builder some flexibility to put some stuff on. So what we're trying to do is encourage all cities to have pockets of high density zoning where someone can come in and build affordable housing. For, you can call it workforce housing, you can call it affordable housing. So these are organic, low or high density, smaller buildings, usually smaller garages. So that's the whole idea, is how do we bring the two sides together to try to work on that.
Just quickly before we go, Governor Walz has requested $276 million in his bonding proposal for affordable housing, preserving existing residences and building new homes. Are you supportive of some bonding money going to alleviate this problem? Yeah,
when we look at housing, there's a lot of different issues with housing. And we wanted to attack the home ownership side because we think that's the side that gets talked about the least. So you have homelessness, you have senior housing, workforce housing, et cetera. The housing bonds play an important part of that. Part of the issue we're hearing from the nonprofits is some of the labor struggles that they have in finding enough people to work and bid on their projects. So,
Senator Draheim, I'm sure there's going to be more on this topic in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.